Well, now that the January transfer window is done and dusted, we're going to be a little premature and look ahead to the summer transfer window. Augie, we have to, because of what didn't happen in January, we're now expecting to happen in the summer. And it really involves some massive names. I think everyone's going to be absolutely licking their chops. Let's start off with the two biggest names out there right now in terms of transfers, and that is Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe. It looks inevitable that these two are going to kick off a wild summer of spending, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the January window is always fairly disappointing in terms of big names, but the summer's when it happens. And I think this summer 2022 is going to be massive. It's going to be potentially the biggest summer spending ever, because you've got, arguably the two biggest young names in football right now that are probably going to move. We know that Kylian Mbappe's contract expires at PSG this summer. They've tried to renew it. They're still, saying the right things that they think he can renew it and stay at PSG, but it looks to all intents and purposes that he's going to go to Real Madrid. Real came close to signing him last summer, made a bid, but PSG were interested. But nobody out there is suggesting that Mbappe won't go to Real Madrid this summer. I don't think anybody out there is trying to scupper the move. I think that there are clubs that would love to take Mbappe in the Premier League. I think Man City, Liverpool have been linked with him in the past, but I think everyone knows he's going to go to Real Madrid. He's made it clear he wants to go to Real. The big question is what happens to Haaland, because, Erling Haaland and Mbappe are the big two. Dortmund have got a clause in his contract which allows him to go at the end of this season for a reduced fee, just over 70 million euros. So, he's going to be affordable to every big club in Europe. And it looks right now that Real Madrid, again, are leading the way. That they want to almost like reform the Galacticos. And, Mbappe and Haaland up front would be, a sensational prospect. But they're also quite keen to make sure that they can strengthen now while their big rivals, Barcelona, have got financial difficulties. So if they can, have an accelerated kind of acquisition strategy and get Haaland and Mbappe, it will take them light years ahead of Barcelona, you think. But, Haaland does have other clubs interested. Man City are very keen. I think Man City got the money to do it. They've got Pep Guardiola. I think if you're Erling Haaland, you know that if you got a Man City, you're probably going to be competing for every big honour for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Real Madrid, are they ready to win the Champions League yet? Maybe not. Maybe in a couple of years' time. They'll never be far away, but I don't think they're quite as strong as City right now. So City are arguably the strongest team in the world. So if Haaland goes to City, they only get stronger. So I think those two are the favourites. I think Real are slightly ahead of City in the race. I think Man United are out of the running. I think they realise that they're not going to get Erling Haaland. PSG might be interested in Haaland. Obviously, they lose Mbappe. They'll have some big player to replace. Money's never short at PSG, but I'm not quite sure that the appeal of playing in France is as big as got in La Liga. So for me, La Liga will be strong again this next year because Mbappe and Haaland could still be playing in Real Madrid.
Well, you mentioned Manchester United there as well, so I want to stick a pin there and talk about who else but Paul Pogba, of course, because that is another massive name as well, and still that uncertainty at Manchester United, or if he even should have a future at Manchester United after this summer, is following him into yet another transfer window. So will this be the summer transfer window, finally the transfer window where we see something happen, potentially an exit from Old Trafford?
Yeah, I think it's got to that point now. I think on the 1st of January this year, there were 3 options for Paul Pogba. There was one, he was going to sign a new contract. The second was that he could have moved in January and found a club. And the third was that he would go in the summer. Now, obviously, one is off the table because we've seen January come and go. He hasn't left. He's been injured, so he's not left United. So the 2 options he's got are to sign a new contract at United, which is not particularly something United are particularly pushing, because I think it'll cost them a lot of money to do it. But I think they keep him if he showed the inclination to do so. The other option, which I think is the most likely, is that as a free agent, he basically looks at his options, and I think he'll have some big options. I think he'll have Real Madrid. He's quite keen to go Real Madrid, as everybody else is. Juventus, who he obviously played for before when he left in 2016 to sign for United, and PSG. So I think PSG, Juventus and Real Madrid are the clubs that Pogba will be able to choose from. And it'll be a case of, does he want to go for the challenge? Does he want to go for the money? Does he want to go for the legacy, I guess? I mean, each club offers a different thing. Juventus is a return to a club where he's had great success in the past. Enjoyed his time there, won big trophies at Juve. Real Madrid, it's the classic club. It is the biggest club in the world. I think Man United would argue against it, but Real Madrid are the biggest club in the world, and Paul Pogba probably wants to play for Real Madrid. And then there's PSG. PSG as a France international, as a one of the biggest stars in French football. It's a big prospect. So whatever Paul Pogba decides to do, it doesn't have a bad option really. It's either stay at Man United to become a very, very well-paid player at Man United again, or take your pick from 3 of the biggest, most successful clubs in Europe. So I wouldn't mind being Paul Pogba right now because he hasn't got a bad option.
And I mean, when you look at the list of free agents this summer, or who will become free agents this summer, it's really what just, I suppose, gets clubs around the world licking their chops. But I want to talk about two players who aren't going to be free agents this summer, but they still have a contract running down with a year left. Raheem Sterling and Man City, and Liverpool's Mo Salah. There's still always some uncertainty when it comes to them. Salah has even flirted with the idea of leaving Liverpool. However, the way he's going, I'm sure Liverpool would want to do everything to hold on to him. But what do you see happening both with Sterling and Salah, if anything at all, this summer?
Well, when a big player gets into the final 12 months of his contract, it's the nightmare scenario for the club that he plays for, because, you know, we saw that even Lionel Messi left Barcelona last year. So when a player runs his contract down, then they can go wherever they want. The club loses control. So, you know, Liverpool and Man City have seen what Messi did at Barcelona. They've been looking at Pogba at United potentially leaving this summer, Mbappe at PSG, and realised that no matter what they do, if the player wants to leave, he'll just run his contract down. So, you know, Liverpool and Man City are both, certainly Liverpool are trying to get Salah tied to a new contract. He is their talisman. He's their superstar player, scores so many goals. He's an amazing player. And Liverpool without Mo Salah would not be the same. Liverpool are trying really hard to keep him at the club. And I think, you know, Mo Salah has got a great rapport with the club. And I do think that the odds are more likely that he will stay at Liverpool. But he's playing a very clever game. He's not giving anything away. He's making sure that he says the right things when he's asked about playing in Spain. He says that he's always interested in that. And, you know, at 29, approaching 30, Mo Salah knows that it's now or never to play for Real Madrid or Barcelona. The problem is, if Real Madrid are going to sign Erling Haaland and Mbappe and maybe Paul Pogba, where can they fit in Mo Salah? Barcelona would love to take Mo Salah, but have they got the money to do it? Probably not. They've got big financial problems. So that really narrows down Mo Salah's options. I mean, PSG is a club that may be interested, considering that they'll lose Mbappe, but there aren't many options for Mo Salah. So that may lead him towards signing a new contract to Liverpool. But as we know, the power's in his hands, because he's out of contract in 12 months' time. Raheem Sterling is slightly different, because I think over the last 12 months, Man City have found a way to win and play without him. You know, he fell out of favour under Pep Guardiola last season. He's been in and out of the team this year. Obviously, he's got back in the team recently. He's been performing well. But, you know, Raheem Sterling, again, is a player that has always kind of spoken about playing in a different league. So at the end of this season, Man City might think, well, it's now crunch time, because he either signs a contract, which commits himself for the next few years to Man City, or they say, look, we're going to sell you now because we're not happy at keeping a player who can leave for nothing at the end of his contract. Man City are very good in the transfer market. They don't let that happen. So they may offload him this summer to avoid losing for nothing next year. I don't think Raheem Sterling will be averse to that. But again, and this is the perennial problem we spoke about, Salah, if Real Madrid are signing Haaland, Mbappe and Pogba, for instance, it reduces the options for the likes of Sterling and Salah. So they may find that their best option is to stay where they are. But again, the likes of Mo Salah, Raheem Sterling, Paul Pogba, these players that are out of contract, they're never ever going to have a bad option because they're such great players.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.